Hi, I'm Karen, one of the educators on the course. This week we looked at the topic of interviews. It was a very busy week with a lot to do. A huge thank you to everyone for all the comments that made it a very interesting and enjoyable week. Before we begin, you may have noticed a new feature, pinned comments. This is a way that we can mark a comment and it stays at the top of the thread. The comments are not the answers, but are interesting ideas or models of good writing. Feel free to comment on a pinned post or use it as an example for your own writing. Do continue reading other comments and making comments, as this is a great way to practice your writing and to learn from each other. This week we began by asking you about your experiences of interviews, and you shared some great stories. Have a look at the interesting discussion under the pinned comment by Marina Chetverikova. Some of the stories made me laugh out loud, especially one from Sola, who was caught unprepared for an interview. In step 2.3, we talked about preparing for the interview. Meri Mari sums it up well in her post, saying that you need to prepare for lots of different types of questions. You might not get asked all the questions, but it's good to be ready, just in case. In step 2.7, we talked about ways to help you prepare for an interview. Takashi Akutsu suggests writing notes in bullet points so you're not tempted to look at your papers a lot. He also advises drinking water if it's offered. An interesting question came from Girlane Murillo, who wonders if the interview is the best way to find out if someone is a good fit. Maybe some people don't perform well in an interview, and there might be another way. What do you think? Add your comments to the thread. When talking about your skills, it's important to give a real example from your own experience. Saying, "I'm a good manager," or "I can be flexible," is something anyone can say. But how do you know? Giving a concrete example shows the interviewer that you have this skill and the experience. We sometimes use a STAR approach that can help plan these examples. S is for situation, what happened. T is for the task, what you had to do. A is for action, what you did. And R is for the result, a good one, usually. It doesn't have to be too long. There's a good example from Carlos Smicelato, which I've added below. There's a link to this technique on step 2.22. Some of you commented on the more difficult questions, such as, what salary do you want? Or, why did you leave your last job? Valentina Purcell offers some useful suggestions on the salary question. And I've added a link to some comments on other difficult questions. The grammar this week was on the language of obligation. Must and mustn't, don't have to and have to. Have a look at Manuel Mina's comment where he uses these words and sentences as good examples. There's been a lot of talk about face-to-face interviews, but we mustn't forget online interviews. Most of the interviews I have had in the last 10 years have been online. The same principle applies, but one advantage for me is that I am in a familiar environment and so I feel fairly comfortable. Of course, you need to practice with someone online beforehand to check the connections and technology work well. One of the highlights this week was the Facebook Live event where Neil, David, Sally and Tina answered lots of your questions. Don't worry if you missed it. You can watch it on the Facebook site and a PDF will be posted soon. So sit back, get a cup of tea, and put your feet up. I'll leave you with my top tip for interviews. A short one, smile. It makes a huge difference. Next week we'll be looking at starting a job and all the things involved on your first day. Have a lovely weekend, everybody. Bye.